And if you look in the light, especially if you get down here, if you get really low, you can see it, that wood is slick. I mean, it's glassy. I don't want to leave it like that because the rest of the floor is not like that. So then I gotta retake my paper, follow my wood fiber, and get it just as fuzzy as it was before. Some common mistakes are you don't copy the same mineral, you don't copy the same pressure, you don't copy the same grit size on here, and you can create a darker or a lighter patch compared to the rest of the floor. Okay? If you're in between coats, which we'll talk about tomorrow, it'll be the same manner of the coat thing, is that if your buffer goes around in circles to do the inner coat abrasion, you want to do that to the floor as well. You don't want to scratch straight by hand. One thing that is another error is how people scrape. Once the scraper blade touches the floor, it doesn't leave the floor until you're ready to move on or go to someone else. What I hear when I hear the scraper banging the floor like that, it's making micro cuts in the corner that show up when you stain it and finish it. So once the blade is in contact with the woodwork, it doesn't leave the woodwork. It will not scrape in that direction. It doesn't do anything to the floor. It only scrapes in the pullback. But if you were to scrape, and I'm not hitting hard, but if somebody were to come see that, you'd see little 1.5 inch cut lines on the floor, and they show up later. So once the blade's in contact with the floor, it does not leave. The comment was made, it's hard to get finish off. If it's aluminum oxide, damn well it is, boy. It'll dull this faster than it cuts off. So my recommendation for that is to get some coarse paper, like a zirconium or something, and actually scratch at the corner and scratch it really hard, cut through that thing so that the blade has something to grab onto as it tries to cut the finish off. So you're gonna prep it first before you scrape. See it on this guy here. Okay, I just cross scratched my dartboard so you can see the scratches. This is 60 grit. You can polish with 60 grit. That's what the light side, non-pressure side of the buffer plate does when you remember that pressure zone part, okay? I'm not saying do that to a job, but you have to understand the difference between just talking about the number of the mineral and the interaction of what the mineral is doing to the floor under certain circumstances. That's how much plate pressure you have. That's why when you're on the buffer and you're twisting down, or if you're on an edger and you're pushing down on the nose, you're actually embedding this rock deep into the wood floor. That 60 grit paper with that light pressure was probably acting like a 120. I found this little area of scratch patterns out, and I'm running with my buffer through my final screen. I can take those out with this little tiny powder right here. I don't know if you can hear it going across the cross scratches. There's a big difference. So you can hear when you got the scratches going, you don't actually have to see it. As soon as that sound goes away, it's slick. You don't want to dig at it like this, because if you dig at it, you're going to create a hole that you'll see later with your finish coatings. So the idea is just to gently shave it, and if you try to cut too high, you're just off of the angle that's cutting sharp now. So
do you when your blade starts to get more worn, do you have to change the angle a little?
You don't change the angle at all. The angle stays all the way up until you can't put like this blade will wear out all the way up to here, and then you get a new blade and start over again. Now the factories don't give you this kind of sharp edge, and it has a nice burr to it. So every now and again you just gotta lick it with the mill file. 1 or 2 strokes gives you that burr back, and you're back to taking these scratches out. And notice that my blade is always traveling over the grain of the wood, just like I want the sandpaper mineral to do it. I'm not trying to shave anything other than in the direction of the wood, but I can alter the pitch or the direction of my handle to suit my needs. If I have a 1.5 inch blade but I want to get into a 1 inch spot, I just pitch the blade and I shave it at 1 inch direction. So I'm shaving only that wide. I'm shaving that wide. I could shave like that. And the reason why you want to alter that is because if you have a board, especially a walnut, that's really bad about chattering when you do the scraping. So, and I can't emulate it here, but if I had a chatter mark somewhere, or let's see, I find a grain that would do it. No, none around here. Sometimes you'll find a grain that'll want to scoop out in the softwood right here, and you want to bridge across that so it's always suspended by the hard part. So you would scrape like that rather than come straight into this little soft grain area where it's going to dish out. So you can bridge gaps. So if you have any chatter, God, I'm going to imitate this. All right, so we got the imitation chatter here. So I don't want to take my blade, I don't want to go hopping up and down parallel to the valleys. I want to twist my blade so that I'm coming across the tops of all those valleys first and shaving tops of all the hills, shaving down to the valley. If I go with the grain, it's just going to hop up and down, and pretty much copy that same thing. So I want to bridge across that.
Yeah, a good demonstration be like maybe going over top of all.
Yeah, over top from one joint to the next.
$1,200.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so you don't want to get hooked and drop down or come this way and get stuck. So in order to bridge that, you can just turn it at an angle. So this thing is really one of the most underrated tools you can have in your tool bag, and it does so much stuff.